What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. This is Hockey Sense. Let's get started. How about that for a beginning? We're in beautiful Ottawa this morning. Not much going on here around Ottawa, but it's great to have you with us as always. Big show for you today. Brian Burke's going to join us. Listen, I hope Jamal Mayers is going to join us as well. Timing wise, he's in Detroit, I believe. He's coaching, and so we're trying to figure out how to make that work. Okay, so we'll see if we can. The Blues lost last night 5-2 the final, in case you didn't see it. Don't go back and watch. You don't need to go back and watch it. They had a real tough one last night against the Boston Bruins. It was Jim Montgomery's return to Boston for the first time. We all know what's taken place in that building. I mean, Jordan Binnington's been incredible inside the TD Garden. Might as well put a statue of him outside of the TD Garden. Bruins fans don't want to hear that, but you look at his performances he's had throughout the course of his career in that building, he's been spectacular. Not as much last night, although it's not his fault. And listen, I don't always subscribe to that. I think sometimes we let goaltenders off the hook too often, and we always say it's not their fault. But some legitimate defensive breakdowns last night. I thought he made some unbelievable saves in the third period, and there were some goals that he probably would like to have back too. But the Blues were just not good enough. And where do we go from here now if you're the St. Louis Blues? I think we keep asking this after each and every game, and I don't know. Maybe Brian Burke's going to have some answers for us. I mean, the reality is you're going to see changes. How drastic the changes are remain to be seen. And what Doug Armstrong is thinking, it's hard to get into his head and get an idea of what exactly he wants to accomplish and what he wants to do. I mean, this has just been one of the most, like, an all-time shocker. I mean, you think about shocking seasons in the history of the Blues organization, and this is as shocking as it gets. When you consider the expectations coming into the year. And I legitimately think that most people felt St. Louis was going to be a legit contender in the Central Division. Maybe not to win the Stanley Cup, and maybe not to come out of the Western Conference, but certainly a contending team to be in that top three. I said that coming into the season. I didn't say they would be a top three in the Central. But what I said was I thought that they would be in contention to be able to compete for a top three spot, and that they would be comfortably in a wild card spot. Last year I said that, you just hope you're playing meaningful games down the stretch and you could play your way into having a chance to make the playoffs and having a chance to climb into a wild card spot down the stretch, playing meaningful games in April. I thought that would be a win for the organization. You know what's interesting about the Blues, and Doug Armstrong was talking about this before the season. They map things out 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. That's what they do. And, ownership talks with management. They get together. They kind of, lay the lay of the land and all of that. Here's where we are as an organization. And a couple of years ago when they were doing that, this season, the projections for this season, and I'm talking 2025, 2026, the projections were that this was going to be the year that the Blues were going to struggle. They weren't going to be good this season. And, as they continue on through their transition as a, I don't want to say a rebuilding team, but you know what I'm saying? You win a Stanley Cup, you move on from some key players, the Jaden Schwartzes of the world, the Ryan O'Reillys of the world. I mean, you can go on and on. There's been a lot of guys, obviously, who were here, who are no longer here. And, it was this season, I think management told ownership, hey, in 25, 26, we're not going to be very good, just so you know. But then, guess what? They got the offer sheets with Edmonton. You get Philip Broberg here and you get Dylan Holloway. Last year, they were so good early on. You start winning games. You look competitive. And they decided to make the trade for Cam Fowler because they were competitive. Now, if you didn't have the offer sheets for Holloway and Broberg, you're probably not making that deal for Cam Fowler. Wouldn't have made sense. And but they bring Jim Montgomery here in November. They start winning games, and they realized they had a chance to climb back into things. And that's exactly what they did. So, the Holloway and Broberg acquisitions completely threw the Blues off in terms of their natural progression as an organization, where they thought that they were and where they thought that they would be at this time. Because listen, you're not planning offer sheets, and you're not expecting to get a guy as good as Philip Robert or Dylan Holloway, for that matter, um, from another team for essentially a draft pick. You just don't see that happen too often. So once you get those players, it was like everything's off the table. Now all of a sudden, hey, we're competitive. We're going to try to win. You make the Cam Fowler trade. Now they extend him this past offseason. But nobody saw this coming for this year. This is one of the more strange seasons that I've ever seen in my time covering the St. Louis Blues. And it's been a long time. I mean, there's been seasons where they haven't been very good. Most seasons they've been very competitive, but very fortunate, man. You think about going back to 1999, 2000. That was the first year that I covered the team. They won the President's Trophy that year. And then all the years that they were competitive under Joel Quenneville with Pronger and McInnes. And then you bring in John Davidson and the Checketts group, and they truly had to rebuild. They weren't very good. Andy Murray comes here. All of a sudden, you start to see the team and the organization build a little bit under Andy Murray. The Davis Payne years. Then Ken Hitchcock gets here. And when Hitchcock got here, it just took everything to the next level. And they became very competitive with the Ken Hitchcock, Doug Armstrong combination. And obviously under Chief and everything else, the rest is history. But you haven't had too many seasons like this where you expected to be really good, and then it's almost been the exact opposite. Are they completely out of it? I think we all know the answer is absolutely not. You know, we see what happens last weekend or whatever it was. All the days kind of collide together right now, so bear with me. But when you win a couple of games in a row at home, everything just seems to change a little bit. And you just get that momentum. And then all of a sudden, now you're getting points and you're moving up in the standings and you realize, hey, we're not that far off. And then the Anaheim loss, obviously, and then starting the road trip in in Boston last night was not what you wanted. We're in Ottawa now. They play against Ottawa tomorrow. That was a tight game, obviously, in St. Louis the day after Thanksgiving. And you can expect Ottawa to be really good and be ready for St. Louis tomorrow night before the Blues finish the road trip against Montreal. I didn't like the Jim Montgomery after the game, and I completely agree with him. So it's not like I don't like him saying it. But whenever a coach is calling out the effort, when it's an effort-based problem, that's a problem for me. I mean, if it's an effort, if it's about effort, then now all of a sudden you open up a whole different can of worms. You start peeling back the layers. Well, what's the issue with this organization or with this team right now? Not the organization, but this particular team, this group of players. And you've got some injuries now. You're missing some character guys. Your two most physical players, and Nathan Walker and Alexei Toropchenko. And you start to feel sorry for yourself a little bit. And you say, hey, wait, now the Blues have injuries. It's tough to overcome injuries. And then you play Boston, and they don't have David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy in the lineup last night. And they made a coaching change, and they're feeling the effects of a coaching change. That's just the way it goes around the NHL. If you haven't noticed by now, you just make a coaching change, and all of a sudden things just get better in the short term. The question is, can they sustain it? And, Boston's going to be asking the same questions. Other coaches who have made, or teams who have made coaching changes, they'll be asking the same questions too. Can you sustain it? Is the success that you're having sustainable? And I think if you look at St. Louis last season, I think if you ask that question, is it sustainable? I think you would say absolutely yes. I mean, look at all the young players that they had who were performing at a high level, led by Robert Thomas, who led the NHL in scoring the last 25, 26 games of the season last year. And that's not a small sample size. It's like a third of the season. He led the league in scoring after the Four Nations tournament. So you had him, you had the Kairos of the world who was scoring 30 goals every year without even playing great all the time. He was just scoring 30 goals. And then you get into the neighbors and you get into the Holloways and these guys, man. They had a lot of promising pieces. So there's no reason to assume that they couldn't sustain it. But they haven't been able to. And now you're calling out or questioning the effort. Usually when you question effort, to me, that's a character flaw. That's a personnel flaw when you are questioning the effort. You never want to hear that. I mean, I've covered teams here in St. Louis where the teams haven't been very good at all, and you lose games. But one thing the coaches would always come out and say is, "Hey, the effort was there." And I think the fans here in St. Louis will support a team that gives effort. And I think for the most part, this team does give effort. Right? Last night was an effort situation. I don't think we're saying that on most nights, but you hope you don't hear that very often because that's when a lot of finger pointing will start, and you don't want to see that when you start talking about effort. It's a word you don't like to hear in hockey for sure. Um, I know Robert Thomas didn't play a lot last night. People are assuming that he got benched, but if you know, he didn't practice the couple days before they left for the road trip. He's been dealing with something, and they've been monitoring that. He didn't look healthy last night, so he didn't play. The game was out of hand. There was no point in playing him. It was good to see Alec Kaskamaki make his NHL debut last night. He was fine. Lost a battle in the corner there in the offensive end, which led to a goal by Boston. But I mean, listen, that's we're talking about 200 feet away from the net. I mean, yeah, you lose the battle there, but the Bruins had too easy of a time yesterday, just transitioning up ice, just going board to board in the neutral zone. I mean, as easy as they wanted it to be. There's no confrontation at all from St. Louis. You had miscommunication in the D zone. You got two defensemen below the goal line. You're leaving the net front wide open. On the Morgan Geekie goal, I mean, I hope people aren't blaming Pavel Buchnevich for that one. Parayko completely left the front of the net. You already had Broberg there. You had Dvorsky there. I think he was trying to read off of Dvorsky when you watch the play. Broberg loses his stick. Parayko's running around. He's below the goal line now. The slot area is vacant. Buchnevich a little late arriving to get there. But at the same time, I don't think he's expecting both defensemen to be below the goal line on that particular play. So again, another complete breakdown. The Blues have changed their defensive zone. It's a complete overhaul, as Jim Montgomery put it. And it was kind of like the elephant in the room when the Blues were making some adjustments to the D zone. Nobody would really come out and admit it. The players didn't feel like really getting into it or talking about it. But it was such an issue the first handful of games of the season when they were giving up a ton of goals. Everybody looked out of sorts. They weren't getting the saves that they needed. And then they made some changes, and they weren't giving up very many goals. The problem is they weren't scoring very many goals either. I think going into what is it, 9 out of the last 10 games, the Blues have scored 2 or fewer goals. You're not going to win in the NHL when you can't score. You got to keep the puck out of the net, but you got to be able to put the puck in the net too. So again, this is a tough one. You don't have Snuggerud. He's out for 6 weeks. Nathan Walker, 8 weeks. Torpchenko, week to week with an off-ice incident that led to his injury. Total accident. Nothing crazy. I mean, people will start, I know everybody's mind starts swimming and stuff like that, but nothing crazy. It was just a freak thing that happened to Torpchenko. So he's out week to week right now. But it's always amazing. I mean, the best part about it is they get to play again tomorrow night here in Ottawa, and then they get to finish the road trip with a back-to-back against Montreal. I mean, you win a couple of games, it just completely changes the mindset. But you don't want to hear about effort being the reason. If effort's going to continue being the reason as to why they're losing, then they're not going to win very many games moving forward. It's just the bottom line. But the Blues just do not look like a dangerous hockey team offensively right now. And people ask me all the time. I'm going on Jeff Merrick's show today. And I know the big question is going to be about who are they moving? Who are they trading? I mean, what are they going to do? Listen, chances are you start seeing some changes. I will say that with the change in the CBA where, teams can no longer stash players on long-term injury, then bring them back for the playoffs and essentially play in the playoffs with a well over $100 million payroll. You can't get away with that anymore. So I don't know what the benefit is for teams to wait till the deadline to make deals. And I think we're going to start seeing some deals ahead of the deadline. And with the break in February, I think it's a great time to make deals prior to February because it gives those players a lot of time to adjust, to move their families, and do all that type of stuff in the event that they have to do that, and to adjust to a different team, new city, all of that. You can certainly take advantage of the schedule in February. Uh, I'm not sure if there's going to be a freeze in February. You always get the Christmas holiday freeze, and that's another challenge right now too. I think for a lot of GMs out there is making deals this time of year and disrupting families and all that type of stuff, man, around the holidays. So anyway, we'll see how all of this plays out. But I would imagine we'll see Joel Hofer in Ottawa and then Jordan Bennington back in Montreal. I would assume that's going to be the plan. I know a lot was made out of Bennington versus Monty. We all knew that they weren't going to pull Jordan Bennington in last night's game. A lot of people up in the press box near our studio, our booth, were questioning, um, hey, will they make a change? Will we see Joel Hofer in the third period? And I was telling some of the Boston guys, I'm like, no, I don't think we will. Um, so he came back out, and Jordan Bennington actually probably played his best hockey of the night in the third period. Made some really big saves. So anyway, so that's where we're at. Brian Burke's coming on, man. Longtime executive, former agent. We'll just talk some puck with him. There's so much other stuff to get into. Starting next week, man, I want to start asking some people to submit some questions that maybe we can get into here on the show. And I know some people like to get very emotional and go crazy and start just slamming guys. Listen, let's keep it at a intelligent level. We'll have intelligent hockey talk here on Hockey Sense. Brought to you by First Community, by the way. We love our friends over at First Community. You know that. Um, Listen, if you're traveling over the spring, if you're going to be going abroad, then hey, check out First Community, get that foreign exchange currency, get all that taken care of. If you're one of those people planning to travel abroad, you're going to need some cash. So First Community, they offer foreign currency exchange at all their community branch locations other than the Walmart locations. So just go to a bank location. You come in one day for a small fee, you order your currency, then you come back in a few days to pick it up. It's that easy. So check that out, firstcommunity.com. The Little Blues program. Sign your son or daughter up for Little Blues. There's a great feature on the Blues YouTube channel right now with Robert Bortuzzo hanging out with the kids from Little Blues on the ice with them. It's the best program going. You won't ever find a better program to get your son or daughter introduced to the game of ice hockey. You get all your equipment, including the skates, including the sticks, everything. First Community does so many great things for hockey, man. Nobody supports hockey in our town more than First Community. They are truly unbelievable. Led by Glenn Barks, everybody over there. They are the title sponsor for the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame. Had a chance to talk to Barrett Jackman last week at the game. He's all excited about it. It's always a great event. If you want to rub shoulders with the biggest names in the history of the Blues organization, head to that event, the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame. I think it's coming up on January 12th or January 13th, something like that. And go to stlouisblues.com. You can find out how to get the information. But again, First Community, they bring us the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame. They bring us Little Blues, and they bring us Hockey Sense here at Half Coast Studios, although we're in Ottawa today. Blue Note Roofing, David Novak. Big birthday shout out to David Novak. Had his birthday yesterday. 314-920-5713. Give him a call today. Get that free estimate. Even in the freezing cold weather, he'll be up on your roof checking it out. Gutters, soffit, fascia, siding, whatever it is. Let him take care of you. Again, 314-920-5713 for David Novak with Blue Note Roofing, baby. Deals with all the big insurance companies. He'll take great care of you. All right, Cross Country Mortgage. My buddy, Mark Cooper, the one and only Mark Cooper, 314-713-4377. Call him today. Let him take great care of you. Mark Cooper, this guy's the best. And I'll tell you what, man, first responders, your mortgage is covered up to $525,000 if you close your deal with First Community, up to $525,000. So if you're injured, critically injured, or even worse, God willing, you hope that doesn't happen, your mortgage is covered up to $525,000. They got great deals for doctors, for loans up to $1 million. And right now, the refinances, man, they're the lowest they've been in a full calendar. So happy holidays to everybody out there. Reward yourself with a refinance from First Community. They got deals in the sixes. They even have deals in the fives on some of these 15-year loans. Call Mark Cooper today, 314-713-4377. 314-713-4377 from Mark Cooper. Lordo's Diamonds. Get that special someone, something special in your life from Lordo's Diamonds. Hey, now's the time. Are you popping the question this holiday season? They got the best selection of engagement rings. But if you're looking for an anniversary piece, or if you're looking for something for your wife or your husband or your daughter or whoever it is, man, take them into Lordo's Diamonds. Go in there and find something that you like. They treat you with such respect. They're the best when it comes to customer service. Mike and Jimmy Lordo are the best people you'll ever meet. Right there in the heart of Ladue next to Truffles, 314-432-8008, Lordo's Diamonds. Check it out and check it out today. LordosDiamonds.com. Find out why they've been in business for almost 70 years. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with Brian Burke. He's going to join us, and we'll get into a number of different things with Berkey, get his take on what's going on with the Olympic ice and some of the players that are rumored to be moving on. Tyler Seguin just got hurt in Dallas. You got Kiefer Sherwood in Vancouver, who's not scoring goals right now, but he is a guy who obviously has been a name that a lot of teams are going to have interest in, especially in the event that Vancouver isn't going to be able to keep him. Edmonton, they put up 9 goals last night. Connor McDavid gets the hat trick. I know people were talking about Jordan Binnington going to Edmonton, but in case you missed it on Cam and Strick, from what I understand, Edmonton is on his no trade list. So you won't be seeing Jordan Binnington accept any trades to Edmonton anytime soon. And their defense isn't playing at a high level either. So, although last night they got the offense, they got the run support. You get 9 goals, you're going to find a way to win in the National Hockey League. All right, we'll step aside. Aiden's in the house. We're in Ottawa, and looking forward to being back in studio in the next couple of weeks as well. And Jamal Maris, he may be joining us here on this show. We're trying to figure out. He's coaching, so if he can get back to his hotel or find a way to reach out to us before we're finished recording, because I'm gonna head to Blues practice today. They are skating here in Ottawa, so I'm gonna go watch practice and take that in today in Ottawa. So if we can catch up with Jamal, we will. If not, we'll do it again next week. We'll step aside. Brian Burke next here on Hockey Sense. Always great to have Brian Burke with us. He's in Toronto. Listen, man, it's this is the cold. What do people do like in Canada when it gets to this time of the year, Berkey? I mean, is it just all? I mean, are people hanging out outside, or you just go to the rinks and just watch hockey? There's not much else to do, man. It's cold up here. It hits you different up in Canada.
You know, you soft. It ain't hot. It ain't cold. This isn't cold. You want to see cold? Come back in a couple of weeks.
What's the coldest you've ever been to? I will like the coldest part of Canada is where? Like, what's the coldest you've ever felt?
Winnipeg
Yeah.
or Saskatoon. Saskatoon, the World Juniors the one year was minus 40 for a week. And minus 40 Fahrenheit and Celsius scales cross each other again. So minus 40 Celsius is the same as minus 40 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, either way you want to cut it, minus 40. It sounds very uncomfortable. Cam and I had Jordan Tutu on our podcast last week. I mean, he's talking about how cold it is up there. You ever been up there, like way up north?
Farthest north I've been to Alaska, and I've been to Yellowknife. I've never been to Nunavut.
Hey, what's the craziest recruiting story you've ever had of just making a trip, going out to Russia, going somewhere, trying to find a player? I mean, you find a player that you weren't even expecting to go watch and see, and you see him out there skating in some remote area, or you had to travel a crazy distance to go get a player to sign. You got a story for us?
Well, we went to Ohio State to watch our first round pick from the year before. It was Ryan Kessler's draft year. And we had him marked for the second round. I saw him play one shift. He had 6 hits, his first shift. I said to our chief scout, I said, who's the kid? Who's Kessler? Where do we have him? I knew about him, obviously, but I said, where do we have him? He said, well, middle of the late, top of the second round, late first round, top of the second round. I said, move him up. We dropped him, I think, at 20.
Yeah, and that ended up being a good pick, obviously. Did you love scouting? What was your favorite part of the job? I mean, like, is scouting your favorite part? of the
Yeah,
job.
yeah, it's the best part of the job by a mile for me, even though I don't think I'm that good at it. Like Doug Armstrong, he can see a guy once and he'll know is he a player or not. I got to see that same guy 3 or 4 times before I'm sold on it. So I'm not a natural at it, but I've worked very hard at it over the years. It's my favorite part of the job. So, like for a typical for a 7:30 start, say a 7 o'clock start in Barrie, Ontario, I would show up at 5 o'clock, meet with both coaches, talk to the visiting team coach, talk to the home team coach, 15 to 10 minutes, and then go sit and watch while they're making the popcorn. And there's no one in the building at 6 o'clock. You finish up your readings, go over and sit up there. You hear them making popcorn and smell it. It's very quiet, no lights aren't on. I love that part of it.
I love it too, man. It's great. I love hearing the stories. Listen, you've been in this situation in Toronto before. I'm just curious your take on Craig Berube. I mean, I've known Chief for so long now, and obviously he's had great success. And now he's going there. He's trying to, transform that team a little bit, thinking long term, trying to get that team to go the distance and not just about today. You think the players there are starting to understand that? You feel like he's gone about it the right way? And you feel like he's under too much pressure there? Like, what's your take on how he's done there in Toronto?
Well, I don't think he cares about the pressure. Toronto's a pressure cooker. It's a very difficult place to work. It's not because the media is unfair. It's because of the size of the media. So you know this from going into a dressing room in St. Louis. After a game in St. Louis, say Toronto plays in St. Louis, how many people be in the room? 40, 50?
Yeah.
After a game in Toronto, it's 100. They all have a camera, they all have a microphone, they all want something to say. They all pick different factions to go after. So when I was there, it was Phil Kessel was a popular target. Dion Phaneuf was a popular target. I was a popular target. Ronnie Wilson. But I don't think people were unfair. They just the size of the enterprise makes it difficult. So I don't think Chief cares. My advice to anyone who works in Toronto is ignore the white noise. Completely ignore it. Don't disregard it a little bit. Ignore it. And I think they're getting better and they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I think he has the ability to block a lot of that out. A guy like Nylander, you look at Matthews. I mean, listen, they're the head of the snake there in Toronto. Do they have to change their mentality? I mean, can they play the way they've always played and have great team success, or do you feel like they need to make some adjustments to get the rest of the players on the roster to follow, just in terms of what people would call winning hockey and maybe what it takes to win in the playoffs?
I think they're lackadaisical at the start, which is hard for Craig Berube to accept, I think, and Brad Treliving as well. I think they played it indifferently at times. I think that's they're shaking that out now. They sent out a couple people, called up a couple people. I think they got the message through. Now, the last few games, not only are they playing with more intensity, they're getting some balanced scoring too, which is key. So I think they're coming out of it, and they're helped by the fact that there's no clear winners in the East. There's no team that's dominating in the East at all.
I know I keep saying that, like, hey, you may lose some games, but like, and you may have had a tough start, but then nobody really separated themselves. So you're right there in the mix. You've known Brad Tree Living for a long time. It's interesting when we were in Toronto a few weeks back, he had his press conference with the media, and I guess he meets with the media quarterly. And listen, he did a great job. I like how he addresses everyone by name, and he knows what he's doing when he goes in there with these press conferences. But then they had Chief come in there, and all the media is being like, "Hey, Tree just said this," and I don't think Chief agreed with a lot of the maybe assessments or some of the assessments that Brad was made in terms of how they were described to him from the media. They got to be on the same page, right? I mean, is that one thing in a market like Toronto when the manager's talking, he's under the microscope, the coach is under the microscope? How much are the manager and coach constantly talking to make sure the messaging is the same when you speak to the media?
Hourly, they're on the same page. They might have picked apart a difference or two, and Brad, I think, has to be more honest at times than the coach does. The coach can't say, "Yeah, this guy sucked the last 10 games." The GM can get away with that. The coach can't say that. So their message has to be different at times, but not that different, and not any rift between them.
Yeah. Is Vancouver like describe the difference between Vancouver and Toronto in terms of
Vancouver's well in Canada. You have Ottawa where the people are very kind, very gentle. Very good people. You have Montreal where you're stupid twice. Stupid in French, stupid in English. Vancouver's a schizo market. There's a social media side there that wasn't there when I worked there. I fortunately did not have to deal with that. Vancouver's a tough, tough market. Much tougher than Toronto for me.
What do you think the toughest market is in the States?
The States, probably, I think Boston when you get down. I think they're fair and they're really good, but I think once you start losing, they're really tough.
Berkey, explain to me why teams, and it hasn't just happened once or twice, it happens all the time now. You make a coaching change, and all of a sudden the team just takes off. How do you know if it's sustainable or not when you see some of these teams? I'm looking at Boston last night. They make a change. Obviously, you look at Monty last year when he came to St. Louis, they completely took off. And I've seen it over and over. I mean, the Blues won the Stanley Cup when Chief took over. I think Hitch won the Jack Adams when he took over. They were out of the playoffs when he got here, and then they almost won the division, or maybe they did win the division. So I see this over and over. Why do you think that is? And like, what are the signs you look for to know if it's like sustainable that they can continue to play at that level beyond just that current season?
I think it's changed because when I remember I did a study of this about 15 years ago. Coaching changes generally didn't have a major impact on the team. They might have a short term, a dead cat bounce. You drop a dead cat on a bed, it'll bounce, even though it's a dead cat. It'll bounce. So you get some kick out of some bounce out of changing coaches, no matter what. But I call it the dead cat bounce. It's not sustainable, doesn't last long, and it's not anyone who likes cats. I'm sorry, but um, the notion that a coaching change will fix all your problems isn't the case historically. I think that's really changed the last 3 or 4 years, where coaching changes now have had long-term positive effects for the team involved. It's much different now.
Hey, what's your take on the sports science in terms of how that influence has made its way into how coaches make decisions, when they practice, how much they practice? Are they doing optional skates? Are they doing workouts off the ice? I mean, Ryan Podell here in St. Louis does an unbelievable job. Constant communication with the coaching staff. When did that come into play? Like, did you have those people on your staff when you were managing?
It was coming. It was coming when I was managing, but I haven't been a GM since I left Toronto. I was briefly in Calgary for when I fired Jay Feaster. I acted as GM for about, I don't know, probably 60 games, 50 games, something like that. But it was coming in. It was very different. The analytics part of it and the sports science part of it, they're all positive developments for the most part, but within reason. And I think you look at every team now has 3 or 4 analytics guys on the plane. They have 2 video replay guys. There's no room on the plane anymore, for God's sake. So, no, it's been positive for the most part. I think there's some overkill. And you'll see some of the analytics people, they've added as many as 15 people. They'll be back to 5 or 6 once they figure out which of them know what they're doing.
What analytics do you believe in? I mean, is there a specific stat that you'll look at and you're like, okay, this makes sense? I mean, are you an analytics guy at all? Do you look at it?
No. I mean, I look at it, I shouldn't say that. I believe I spoke at MIT at their sports Sloan conference, the MIT Analytics Conference years ago. And I said analytics are like a lamppost to a drunk, useful for support but not for illumination. And I never got asked back to that conference again. I probably never will. But I believe in the role of analytics. I just think as you evaluate players, it's the third tool, the evaluation. One is eyeballs. You watch them play, you make your assessment. We pay people to do that. Is he a fast enough skater? Is he got good hockey adjustment? You watch him play. 2 is background. We do an extensive background check on all these players that we can track down, find out about their character. Are they good people? Are they good teammates? So on. Third is analytics. Analytics to me is more a screen than an analytics tool. It'll knock someone out. You say this guy, we like him, but he's very poor on this, very poor on that. Maybe change your draft evaluation, but it's not my primary source. No, I
I feel
don't
like
think it could be for anyone.
Yeah. I feel like you were a guy who didn't wait for the trade deadline to make moves. If you felt like you had a move to make, we got in front of the deadline. Do you think now with the change in the CBA, Berkey, where teams can't just stash players on long-term injury, then bring them back when the playoffs begin and have a payroll of $120 million or whatever it is, that there's not going to be you're going to see more and more teams get out in front of it and just get deals done, not wait till the deadline to make some of these deals.
Yes, I do, but that was my MO for a long time anyway, even before this. Now the salary cap has made those last minute deals very difficult. Um, I think it's a big crowd. I used to use the Kmart thing. It's like the blue light specials. Remember Kmart? Showing my age. But you'd have a blue light special, it'd be a special on lamps or something. And all these shopping carts would be crowded around the blue light trying to get the lamp. And I remember thinking, what a stupid way to draw a business, but it worked. That's what it was like for the trade deadline for the NHL, in my opinion. So I tried to make my deals, whatever deals I was going to make earlier. The prices weren't any better doing it early, but you got the player for a longer period of time. You got to acclimate him. You got any shock waves to put through your team. So I didn't do much at the deadline as a rule.
What do you make out of the issue now in Milan with the ice surface being about 3 feet shorter both sides? Are we making too big a deal out of this, Berkey, or is this a big issue? I mean, like, if you think Doug Armstrong's changing the way or how he's thinking about constructing the roster based on this ice surface?
No, not one bit. I don't think 2 feet. I heard 2 feet. I don't think 2 feet's enough of a difference to worry about. 6 feet, I would worry. But I don't know where to draw a line between 2 and 6, but 6 feet, I would worry. 2 feet, I wouldn't. I think Doug Armstrong slept like a baby last night.
Yeah, no, I hear some people say, well, Tom Wilson now, I mean, you got to put him on. Like, he's on the team anyway, isn't he? I mean, he's got to be on your team, right?
On my team, yes. He's on my team because I like that type of player, but I don't think 2 feet's going to make a damn bit of difference to anyone they're putting together on a team. The problem is you've got so many good options with Team Canada. Doug Armstrong has a really tough job. And you got to get it right. It's not like silver medals aren't people don't like those. They like gold medals. You got to get it right. So it's important, and he's the right guy for Team Canada.
You know, explain that, Berkey. How much pressure are they under, you think, to win the gold medal? I mean, like, he lives in St. Louis. He's not living in Canada, but he's still obviously feeling it, right? There's a ton of pressure that comes with it.
Well, the pressure is they're used to winning. That's the number one thing is they're used to winning. Team Canada's had great international success. They're accustomed to this. So when you're accustomed to something, anything less looks like failure. That's a very enviable prospect to be in where people expect you to win. The players expect to win. That's very helpful. That pressure is good. The bad side comes when U.S. is pretty darn good too. So are the Swedes. And if they don't win, the pressure, the expectations now are Canada and U.S. are 1 and 2, or 1 and 2, U.S. and Canada, whatever order you want to put it in. But if they don't finish 1 and 2, well, whoever doesn't finish number 1 is going to be disappointed, and people are going to lash on them. So they took the wrong guys. The rink was the problem. The rink was a problem. We didn't know it was going to be 2 feet shorter. So you'll hear all kinds of whining for teams that don't win.
Connor Bedard, is he on your team? Like, is he an automatic right now or no?
No automatics with Team Canada. I think as an alternate, I'd take one of those 2 kids. Maybe Schaefer as the D. But I would take one of those 2 kids, Celebrini or Bedard. I wouldn't take 2 kids. They've got too many good choices to choose from. And Connor Bedard's really forcing this to become a hard choice, but not for me. Take one of the other as an alternate and build your team.
Well, if it comes down to he and Celebrini, I mean, Celebrini's got to be the guy, right? Just in terms of
would be for me more complete player.
Yeah, I mean, he can impact game in different ways and probably be a little more versatile for the coaches, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay.
I would use Macklin Celebrini killing penalties. I would not use Connor Bedard.
Yeah. And do you need Bedard on the power play? I mean, you look at that team. I mean, it's not like you need him on the power play either, right?
No, you don't. But he's having a wonderful year. He fell off last year. I talked to his agent. He went back. He didn't go to the World Championships, and people criticize him for that. He went back and worked on a lot of things. He's a much better player now than he was even 6 months ago.
Yeah, I know. My kid was playing in a tournament in Vancouver at that North Shore Winter Club and just ran it. They have a smaller like practice rink inside the building and just ran it. Nobody knew but just randomly, like he's in there by himself, just training in the middle of June by himself, not even with the skills coach on the ice, and then the kids found out and everybody ran over there. But um, I think that's just kind of his MO. And I'm happy for him, man, because he was dealing with a lot of criticism. I'm glad to see him be able to get it together. Are you concerned with Team USA and all the injuries that they're dealing with?
Yes, you'd have to be. Half their defense is hurt. Now, the report I heard even as recently as 2 days ago was they all should be back, but other guys are going to get hurt in the interim. But the word I got was Fox will be back. Slavin will be back. Borensky's okay. He was banged up there.
McAvoy?
McAvoy will be back. So they should all be back from what I hear, but we'll see. Someone else will get banged up in the interim. That's the problem.
Some coaches are talking about with it being an Olympic year, the schedule's so condensed that it's leading to a lot of these injuries. I mean, do you buy that?
Yes. I don't like the schedule. We play too many games. I believe that. It's not new. We play too many games.
Every time I turn around, both teams are playing their third game in 4 nights, Berkey. And it doesn't make the best quality of hockey either sometimes when these teams are playing 3 and 4 all the time.
Well, the quality of the hockey you see with the 3 and 4 is going to suffer. But what really suffers is the number of star players who aren't in that game because they're banged up. It's a problem. I know the league's aware of it. I'm not saying anything that they don't know. But there's at some point we have to look at the number of games we play and say is it too many. Not
Yeah.
just compression. You put an Amazon game in on Monday nights. There's only one game on Monday nights, or only one or two. So that adds to compression. Because now a bunch of teams have to have Monday night off. Now all of a sudden there's 14 games on Tuesday. So the Olympic break and 4 nations a year ago, it's not good.
Why is finding goaltending so hard? Like Edmonton, for example, they take so much heat because they can never find a goaltender. But like it's like the one position. I mean, if you're lucky to have a number one, like a bona fide, legit, elite goaltender, then you're in such a great spot. But how many of those guys are there?
There aren't many. It's all tandems now anyway, or three. Some teams are working on three. I think the day of Amari Breer playing 70 games is long gone. Alba playing 60 long gone. Now you're going to see guys trying for a 50-30 split. I know that doesn't end up to 82. Some idiot one year I said I want a 50-30 split, and some idiot said that doesn't even add up to 82. I know that. I know how many games there are. Next year will be 84. I'm looking for a 50-30 split. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what every team's going to end up with. You watch. But chasing goaltending, it's hard. I think Edmonton's a great example. I think their goaltending's been fine. They sort of gave up 5 goals on 10 shots. Look at the shots. Don't look at the numbers. Look at the shots. Look at the shots he was asked to stop. None were stoppable for me. I think the goaltending's been fine in Edmonton. Their problem is elsewhere.
With their D, right?
Yes. And their defensive breakdowns. They made too many mistakes. They appear to be coming out of it all of a sudden, but the breakdowns and the giveaways are unbelievable. The chances that Stuart Skinner has to stop. It's amazing to me. He's going mass every day.
It's crazy. A couple of last things for you, then I'll let you go. The Ovechkin Crosby era. I mean, you think these guys push each other, even though I mean it's like neither of them drop off, but both of them continue. It's like Crosby's having a great year. You just think maybe this is going to be the year Ovi just doesn't produce as much, from a goal scoring standpoint. And now he just goes crazy. These guys are truly incredible, Berkey. I mean, have you seen two superstars be this consistent for this long as they approach 40 years? I mean, who's the comparison?
I don't know one, but I know this. We're lucky to have these guys. They're both amazing athletes. They're both producing still, as you mentioned, in their advanced years. I don't think they push each other, though. I think they push themselves. I don't think they're competing. I don't think Sid ever wakes up and says, I better score tonight because Ovi did. I think Sid wakes up and says, I got to get 2 tonight no matter what. Even if Ovi retires tomorrow, Sid's going to do the same thing. So I don't think they push each other, but it has that net effect of trying to compete and be the best, even at an advanced age of 38 or 40. It's amazing to watch how well they played this year. I'm used to being around Sid, but
Yeah. It's amazing. I want to ask you real quick about St. Louis, and I don't know how much you watched them play, but last night, Jim Montgomery questioned the effort. When you start questioning the effort, like, what does that tell you? I mean, normally, I mean, you can lose games, but you want to see effort. If the effort's not there, how concerning is that?
I was at the PW game, so I did not see the game. I went to the women's game last night. I'm a huge fan. So I did not see the game, but I heard Monty's quotes. And that's a pretty serious allegation. If he's questioning the effort, you're going to the heart and soul of the team, questioning the effort. He's done it twice now, I think, this year, or maybe even 3 times, or comparable language anyway. I think Monty's a great coach. If he's questioning the effort, there's something wrong with that team right now. That's nothing that can't be fixed. I think the same thing was going on in Toronto a week ago. All of a sudden, they should appear to have sorted it out. I like St. Louis. I think they'll be fine. I like Monty, but there's something wrong. They're not getting it done right now. It's so hard to change your team too with the salary cap.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Everyone just assumes like, oh, they throw out all these names every year out of St. Louis, but it, Doug Armstrong's not looking just to give these guys away, right? So if you're going to make a deal and you're going to set yourself up in return, I mean, it's a major challenge, right? It's not easy to get these deals done.
As Harry Simmons said to me many years ago, you can always make a bad deal. That's easy. You make a bad deal tomorrow. I made enough bad ones, I know. But the fact of the matter is, try to make a deal that makes sense and makes you better. When the other 31 teams are trying to kick your ass, it's really hard.
Mm, yeah, it's tough. All right, Berkey. Listen, I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this as always. Hope you're well. Happy holidays to you and your family, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, you got it, Berkey. Take
Yeah.
care. That's Brian Burke, man. Always appreciate talking to Berkey. Great mind, great hockey mind, great person. Always has time too, which you just come to appreciate. You know, people that kind of give you time, and he's one of the best, man. Love talking to Berkey. Home loans, top 20 largest lenders. You know who's on that list? First Community. So much news lately about the Federal Reserve and interest rates and all that. Will they go down or not? We hear about it all the time. But you should know First Community has some great options. First Community recently listed among the top 20 largest residential mortgage lenders in St. Louis by the St. Louis Business Journal. How about that? So make the smart choice. Learn about all your options at firstcommunity.com. First Community brings us hockey sense each and every week. Check out Kirkwood Fence. Check out Hackett Security. Listen, when I'm traveling, I feel comfort knowing that my family is safe, everybody's safe, the house is safe. With my friends over there at Hackett Security, check out hackettSecurity.com. And also, people come to my house, they say, wow, the fence, sometimes your fence just pops. You got all different options now when it comes to fencing. What kind of fence do you want? The fence can add so much, not only from an optics standpoint to your house, but to the value of your house. You get a nice fence. Just enhances the value of your house. Kirkwoodfence.com. Let one of the experts come out and give you an estimate and take a look at what fence would make the most sense for you over there at Kirkwood Fence. We may have Jamal. We may not have Jamal. I'm going to give it a few more minutes and then we'll see if we can get Jamal on here. If not, we'll pick back up with Jamal next week. Again, Spa and More. Angie Hess, our girl. Check that out. Spas and More. They've got the hot tubs. They got the saunas. They got the cold tubs. They got all of that. So check that out. Jamal Mayers brings us Spa and More. They bring the in spa. You hear that all the time. Dobbs Tires and Auto Centers. Check that out. Get those tires. Make sure you've got the right tires for the road here in the winter months, man. It's always so critical, so important to make sure you have that with Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. So we appreciate Jamal Mayers obviously joining us each and every week here on Hockey Sense. And obviously he's coaching. Everybody has different schedules. We're all in different parts of the country, and I can't wait for us all to be together. Hope everyone's getting excited for the holiday season. And I like what Brian Burke said there about, you look at Toronto, now that you start winning games, listen, the entire temperature changes. I couldn't believe when I was there. And earlier in the year, people are, questioning about chief and you're firing the coach. I mean, it's just such a lazy thing to turn to every time things don't go your way. That you just want to fire the coach right off the bat. And listen, sometimes we've seen it makes a big difference in the short term. But you want to make sure that from a long term that it makes a lot of sense. Um, there are some good coaches out there. I mean, Pete DeBoer comes to mind, obviously, but he's never been a guy that sticks around too long. But he's a hell of a coach. I'd hire Pete DeBoer in a heartbeat. Big fan of his. But I think the majority of the coaches around the league right now, they all do a really good job. It's just getting your players to buy in and play the way that you need them to play on a consistent basis. But I understand what Brian Burke was saying. Hey, when you start calling out the effort, it's like a word you just don't typically hear all that often. And you know what? It's like I appreciate coaches who do that at the same time because I know coaches in the past who we've covered who would never want to call out the effort of the team because they would feel like that would point the finger at the coaching staff. If the coaches aren't able to get the effort out of the team, well, then that's on the coaches. If there's no effort, it's on the coaches. They're not motivating the players. They're not getting the most out of the players. So a lot of coaches in the past, listen, they would never say that. So I give Jim Montgomery credit, and I don't think it is on the coaching staff to get these players motivated. This is not about coaching. I mean, they had some defensive coverage issues early in the year. I think they made some adjustments, and they reverted backwards in terms of how they defended in last night's game. But the good news is they get to play Ottawa tomorrow. Again, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Big shout out. Happy birthday. It's his birthday weekend. So call David Novak or shoot him a text and just say happy birthday from all the listeners here on Hockey Sense. Cross Country Mortgage. Nobody does mortgages like Cross Country Mortgage. Call Mark Cooper today, 314-713-4377. Show him Hockey Sense Nation is listening. We want to help this guy out and obviously continue to help out the show here. We need the support of all our sponsors. There's no doubt. 314-713-4377. Mark Cooper, first responders covered up to $525,000 in the event that they are critically injured in the line of duty. Their mortgage is covered. I mean, you talk about sleeping peacefully at night. You'll go to sleep easy knowing that your mortgage is covered up to $525,000 and that your family obviously is in a good spot. So anyway, we thank Aiden, everybody here at Half Coast Studios. I'm Andy Strickland. Hopefully we've got more positive things to talk about, and we'll start diving into some stuff. The Blues miss Jimmy Snuggerud, there's no doubt. They miss Nathan Walker, they miss Toropchenko, but every team's dealing with injuries. And when you look at the Boston Bruins, like I said, they don't have Charlie McAvoy and they don't have Pasternak. Listen, it's hard to feel sorry for yourselves. You got to go out there and you got to play. Morton Geekie gets his 21st goal of the season last night. It's just incredible. You just wonder when are guys going to break out offensively for the Blues? Who's going to go on that 7-8 game heater? Who's going to start scoring goals in bunches and really start putting this team on their back offensively? When are we going to see that? Because we're waiting for it. We've seen it in the past and we know they can do it. So again, we'll see what this weekend brings. Appreciate the support, everybody. Hope you're having a great holiday season so far. We got lots more to come and lots more to bring you all year round here on Hockey Sense. We're in Ottawa. We're off to practice. Hope everybody has a great day. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Bundle up, stay warm, and keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next Friday on Hockey Sense. Have a great weekend, everybody.